All right, so I really don't know where to start with this. I'm just going to read a bunch of stuff and kind of explain it. It might be a long video, but it might not. I'm trying not to. But anyway, all right. So I'm going to start with all the nuclear energy inside our hypothalamus, okay? You have the paraventricular nucleus, the intracalculated nucleus, the red nucleus, the paraventricular nucleus, the dorsomedial hypothalamic nucleus, the anterior hyponucleus, the lateral preoptic nucleus, acute nucleus, or acute nucleus, medial preoptic nucleus, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the supraoptic nucleus, ventromedial nucleus, okay? There are 12 nuclei of the human brain. Now, ironically, this doesn't necessarily tie to it directly, but it does because of the 12 and the 6s and all that, okay? Because technically, all the 6s coincide with the generation creation of the universe, regardless. Anyway, okay, so this is the planet, okay? The core of the planet regulates its homeostasis, all right? Just like our nuclear core of our brain, our hypothalamus, okay? Now, Gaia formed Uranus without any help, okay? Gaia created the sky, so the Earth made the sky, okay? And the sky gives Earth life. All right, so it's a unicellular vertebrate. Well, it's many cells, but it's only one technical cell. It's a planet. It's a living planet. All right, I'm going to get ahead of myself. Okay, you have your magnetosphere, your sky, Uranus, son of Gaia. Okay. Now, Uranus and Gaia create 12 of the Titans. Now, those 12 Titans don't technically tie in right here. I was only working on the hypothalamus and homeostasis, but I ran across that, ironically, the 12 Titans, okay, that Gaia and the sky create, which, in my opinion, are probably gigantic animals in early Earth, like the Cyclops, for example. I'm not going to go over there. I'm going to get ahead of myself. Anyway, all right, so while I'm trying to study the Luca, which is the planet, okay, Uranus and Gaia create the 12 Titans, okay, I run into Prometheus, okay. Now, Prometheus's liver was ate out by an eagle every day for giving humans fire. All right. Now, I don't think he was a guy, obviously, because all these gods technically represent a force of nature. All right. But this led me to hepatocytes and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Let's see. The liver synthesizes proteins, produces biochemicals for digestion and growth. Okay, now this ties into our planet, technically. All right, the evolution of the eukaryote. Okay, so nobody knows how the nucleus evolved. Here's a theory. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out here. Prokaryotes have cilia, okay, all over them. The cilia ends up getting thicker. It gets real thick and eventually forms an outside layer. That's not all right? I'm going to go ahead and cut to this, okay? Now, flagellum. Flagellum, I theorize, the flagellum gets pulled in over time, becomes the endoplasmic reticulum and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, regardless, helps with proteins and energy, make the metabolic and motile energy, okay? And where this is oval and it keeps pulling this in, it's going to back off center, okay? And all of the DNA information in here is going to be really dense to the nucleolus and in the nucleus, okay? Because literally the flagellum came in, the nucleus got smaller and smaller as eventually it became this and the endoplasmic reticulum around it. Okay, so this is just a theory, but it makes a lot of sense. Okay, now let me go ahead and go back to this. Okay, so fimbriae are in the fallopian tubes. Okay, ironically, these are fimbriae. Okay, they're like cilia. They are in fallopian tubes. That's a direct result. That's literally a direct evidence, more or less, of the X factor, okay? Because you have the nucleus, which is the Y, and then you have the egg around it, which is the X. And ironically, all this ties into fallopian tubes because of fimbriae. Just throwing that out there. Once I ran into that, it put me on a track because I'd already suspected that this had something to do with the female and the X factor, obviously, because nucleus and the egg with everything in nature. Okay? All right. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and read this stuff. Okay. Dense early molting. Iron and silicates separated. Okay? So at some point, like the singularity that is quark gluon plasma, our molting core is mainly iron and other metals and silicates, but it's very dense. Okay? But as it cools, it inflates because it's resurfacing. All of that stuff is getting cold, which means the bonds aren't as tight and flowing together as it would be if it was magma. So as it solidifies, you have more oxygen in between the particles. And essentially a crust forms. Okay? And the planet is prokaryotic at one point, and it's molting. Now what happens when an animal molts? It molts its epidermal cells, its crust. So our planet is molting, literally. Analogous to an arthropod, it is molding, okay? And it's forming a crust because it's a crustacean in nature. It's a mollusk, technically. It's an invertebrate, our planet. But it's a unicellular mollusk or arthropod. But they're both they're really close. They're similar. Okay? Evolves into eukaryote, expands and cools, okay? You have endoplasmic reticulum, the rough and smooth, okay? You have protein synthesis, okay? Alpha carbons, early Earth. Glycoproteins, amino acids, metabolism, okay? Which ties in with the liver, okay? It generates the sky, it's resurfacing, alpha carbons. Okay, the Greek word for metabolism is change. The Latin word molt means change. All right, so cave pearls can form the same way mollusks form pearls inside themselves. This is what put me on the idea that our planet has to do with some kind of organism that makes pearls, obviously, and that would be a mollusk. Okay, but it's also a crustacean because of its crust, and it's hard on the outside and soft on the inside, like a crustacean, arthropods. So I'm just going to read some of this. Okay, Earth is a superorganism. Here's a cave pearl. Unicellular mollusk, biounified field. Okay. C, mollusk, pearl, mother of pearl, Mother Earth, X. Okay. The clam would be analogous to a nuclear core inside an oyster here. That would be the Y factor. I was just throwing that out there. Of course, you have your Y factor here, the sun. Then you have your solar systems. The eggs are, electron shells around it, which is Mother Earth, the X factor. The eggs around the nucleus. Male and female, X and Y. It's all about X and Y. Everything is about X and Y. Everything that's had to do with Greeks and hermaphrodite, that's the hermaphroditic nature of the universe. Space decays using alpha decay. Alpha is the beginning. Quarks are the only thing in the universe that are self-born. So space, literally being a void, decays because everything decays, even a void. So it goes through alpha decay, which is the beginning, the male aspect of energy, nuclear, okay? Then the nuclear energy will decay, beta decay, okay? So this is the nature of the singularity. Now, I explain that on another video. All right, so you have the endoplasmic reticulum, you have carbon and silicon based, silicon and oxygen, okay? Silicon and oxygen is quartz, okay? SiO2, okay? Imagine H2O. But here you got silicon and oxygen instead of hydrogen and oxygen. That means that quartz itself is hard water. And I'm not saying hard water like iron water. I'm saying it's literally water as a rock. Okay? It's not hydrogen and oxygen. It's silicon and oxygen. But look at all the properties that quartz has. Look at all the special things that quartz can do and the unusual things that we use it for. And it's quantum properties, with energy, vibrations. It's like water. It's like fluid, but it's not fluid. It's hard water, literally. That's what I relate quartz to, all right? And also, silicon-carbon life forms or diatoms. I'm just throwing that out there, okay? Earth evolves the neurological systems as cephalopods and ctenophores. Okay, so it's a nervous system. It's evolving the nervous systems. Sponges will evolve skin tissue. Coral will eventually become bone. Okay, this is analogous to some kind of macrogastropod, gastropod, oxygen, hydrogen, gases. Just throwing that out there. You know, a pod of gases. Salt kills snails and humans, though it's important, and volatility is what maintains life. Carbon and oxygen reaction, okay? Carbon and oxygen react to each other volatilely, okay? So that volatility is literally what keeps us alive. Because oxygen and carbon react the way they do, we breathe oxygen because we need that endothermic reaction inside our bodies to keep us alive. Earth is a species of mollusk with an open circulatory system. Okay, this open circulatory system is our ocean, rivers, ponds, free-flowing water, okay? Earth is a saline cell. Our blood is composed of iron salt water, or iron and saline, okay? Iron water is blood red because we have iron water in our blood. Our blood is iron water. That's why it tastes like pennies or copper or iron, because it is literally iron water, okay? And saline. Our planet is literally a type of blood cell. It's analogous to a leukocyte, okay? But I'm just throwing it out there. It's a type of white blood cell. Yes, I know I said a mollusk, an arthropod, and a blood cell. But we have all of those things on Earth. So if our planet is composed of everything we are composed of, obviously it's going to be more than just a rock floating around in space, okay? We know our planet's a living planet, but we don't consider it a living planet at all. We say, oh yeah, we live on a planet that's alive. Do you really understand how alive your planet is? Okay? It is a cell. It is literally a cell. It operates the same way. It's a blood cell. Every animal on Earth, every living creature on Earth has blood. Every living creature on Earth has blood. Okay? This is a blood cell. Our planet is the Luca. Technically, it's the Fuca, the first universal common ancestor. Now, obviously, we need salt in our diets. And salt can kill snails. If salt can kill us because we can't process it. But we need certain amounts of it. Okay? Now, the core regulates homeostasis like I was explaining in our brain. Okay? The hypothalamus, the nuclear core of the biological brain. Earth is a blood cell leukocyte of saline, free-flowing liquid. Iron, salt water is essentially blood. Now I'm just reading some notes here. I know I didn't explain this the way I had it in my mind, the way I was wanting to, because I'm kind of forcing myself to do this right now. Okay, carbon, silicon. Easily share electrons. Organosilicon. Carbon, oxygen. 6 valence electrons. Alcohols, ethers, peroxides, etc. Life. All right. Silicon, oxygen. Quartz, properties of quartz. Okay. Carbon, iron, or steel. Iron and silicon. Ferrosilicon. Okay. Hydrogen production with sodium hydroxide. They can produce hydrogen with sodium hydroxide using ferrosilicon, okay, and water. Let's see. Monohydrate like creatine, created in the liver and kidneys. Let's see. NaOH or NH2O is exothermic reaction. Life, chemical, organic. Organic compounds, ionic compounds. I'm just throwing this out here because these were notes that went in with this. Obviously, like I said, I'm forcing myself, so I'm not exactly doing this in the proper order. So it's probably confusing, but I'm sure some of this is still getting through. Anyway, sodium, highly reactive metal, essential for blood. Electrolyte, essential for muscles and nerves. Salt, essential for osmosis. And osmosis is what kills us because of drinking salt water. Because all your fresh water in your tissue wants to be drawn to the salt. And that dehydrates you more because your kidneys cannot process salt. Okay, sodium and water, life, exothermic reaction or energy. Okay, sodium and water has exothermic energy. Okay, potassium reacts with water, potassium peroxide and oxygen. Okay, now if I do this, if I work on this long enough, I'll be able to find the carbons or the polypeptides, ribonucleotides that the planet shares with every creature on it. Okay, and I'm going to say there are roughly between 600 and 700 alpha carbons that our planet, being the Luca, passes to all life on it. Okay, I don't see how they haven't, or they probably have found it. They just keep throwing it out. Oh, we don't know what the Luca is. Well, I can't see y'all being that dumb. If I can figure this out, obviously, they have to know something. Now, this doesn't necessarily tie in with the Luca, but it works. It is with evolution. Okay, Pan. Okay, you know the little goat guy? It means all. Pantheism. Pan. Okay. Walk upright, bipedalism, okay? Pan coincides with upright walk bipedal, okay? Hence, an antelope walking bipedal, all right? Hades, the unseen one, it's pretty much the core of the planet. Pluto, root, wealthy from below. Comes riches, fertile crops, metals, okay? That's where the core or the mantle, all this stuff is processed, and that's where we get the vitamins and dirt and metals and stuff in our crops and in the land, you know. So that ties in with Hades, or the underworld that produces the riches of the land, you know. Typhon, the eel, the snake, the legless being the serpent, giant. That's one of the ancient creatures that were huge. Now, but Titanoboa was huge. This thing would make Titanoboa look like a garter snake, okay? Whatever these large titans were, even made a sperm whale look small. Now, I know we haven't found fossils of something like this, okay? But that doesn't mean it didn't exist. And that's a fundamental, okay? If you understand the fundamentals of it, you don't have to have a fossil to know something exists. You can just understand fundamentally, well, that had to exist because of these factors. Okay, now this is weird too. Okay, the mushroom. Okay, Chlamydia trachomatis. Okay, this is chlamydia. This is actually STI, STD, whatever. All right. Now, they are a type of algae and fungus. Okay, and chlamydia affects the penis and the vagina. The penis and the vagina are actually fungus because that's the first evolutionary step that everything had to evolve first. Next to teeth, was the procreation system. It's penis and vagina for replication. Now, what are humans? Well, what do? We procreate, consume, procreate, consume, procreate, consume. That's a fungus. We are literally bacteria consuming the planet. Okay? That's the importance of fungus evolving first. Fungus did evolve on this planet first about 1.5 billion years ago. We didn't diverge from animals then, okay? Now they say fungus diverged from animals 1.5 billion years ago, okay? As far as I knew, or as far as I know, there were no animals on the planet 1.5 billion years ago. So what the hell are they trying to say, all right? It didn't diverge from anything. It became something else, okay? So fungus passes genes, evolves into something a little more complex, probably something with teeth. And I'm wanting to say, I'm not saying it directly turned into the Venus flytrap, okay? I'm wanting to say that algae and mushroom evolved into a species of sundews, okay? Which is a type of a fungal plant, okay? And it uses, it's literally a carnivorous plant like a Venus flytrap, but it doesn't necessarily use a mouth. It uses like hairs and goo and such to catch its victims, okay? But it's a type of fungus, and you can look at them and you can see that they're fungus related, obviously, okay? Sundews. There's all kinds of species of them, okay? So I'm going to say that fungus evolved, then it evolved into sundews of some kind of species which shares an ancestor with the mollusk and Venus flytrap and mushroom, okay? So I'm going to say all these guys are actually related. Now, when you look up how these two guys reproduce. All right, so here's a mushroom's life cycle, okay? You have your mycelium, the hyphae, which basically spits X and Y gametes, okay? X and Y, all right, male and female, all right? Now, here's a clam. It's the same thing. Except for being up here and dropping it on the ground, it gets in the ground, drops it in the water. It's the exact opposite. But learning the reproductive systems, the sexual organs of the animals on Earth, we can reduce this, okay? We can literally reduce this. And the mammals of the planet have a phallus and a vagina. Obviously, all the mammals have the same kind of sex organs, all right? And the whale is where that began. And understanding evolution is what brought all this stuff to my attention. Because I take this stuff serious. It's not just like, oh, it's a hobby. No, I'm really trying to figure something out. Because I know that they lie. I know they know more than what they put on. And I know the stuff can be explained. Just simply saying, well, we'll never know. That's a cop-out, okay? If you believe that, then you might as well just give up knowing anything already. I'm just saying. Just saying. That's the worst mentality to have when it comes to learning. We'll never know. I was never taught that we'll never know. I was always taught if you look for it, you will find it. If you seek, you will find. If you read, you will learn. If you study, you will pick up on stuff, okay? I've never went with the fact that we'll just never know. That's the dumbest mentality. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. All right, so I'm just throwing this out here too. Okay, Terra. That's Gaia, but this is Roman, okay? Gaia is Greek. Roman is Terra. Tellus Mater. Terra Mater. Tomater. Mother Earth. That's what that means. One of 12 deities. The cornucopia, horn of plenty, flowers and fruit. Okay? What does that all come from? It comes from the earth. Jupiter, the sky. Father, god of the sky. Zeus. Okay? So I was just throwing that out there. Now here's another way to know what species on the planet pretty much evolved first. Okay? Well, there are 5.1 million species of fungi. That outnumbers plants 6 to 1. There are only 1 million that we know of insect species, okay? So fungi species outnumbers insect species at least 5 to 1. And that's one way of knowing who's been here the longest, okay? So I'm willing to bet that fungus has been here a lot longer than insects. And I'll bet scientists will probably say the same thing. But I'm going a different route than they're going, okay? They use numbers, and I'm going to show you why that means nothing. Now here's an example of why numbers will not tell us why anything happens. Okay, let's say this is a fluid container, okay? It's got water in it, it's just a bottle, okay? But you don't know that. All you have is 3.2, 6.6, and 1.0, okay? That's all you know. Well, how is that going to tell me why anything happened? Well, how is that going to explain anything to me if I don't know fundamentally that I'm dealing with a jar with water in it? You see what I'm saying? Science is not going to be able to figure out what happened before the singularity and how the singularity happened and the theory of everything and all this if they keep looking at things with numbers. Numbers are a superficial way of looking at things. If I start looking at the world with numbers, that takes all the meaning away from the world, okay? That literally takes the meaning away from things that are fundamental, okay? So, if you do not know fundamentally that you're just dealing with a container with fluid in it, all you're going to have is numbers and you're not going to know where any of them go. You're just going to know, well, we got this, we got this, we got this. But we don't know where any of it goes or fits together. And that's exactly why they have evolutionary ladders with creatures popping into existence and evolving into stuff that technically came out of nowhere. You see what I'm saying? They have numbers that mean something, but then that creates a paradox for something else that explains why that happened. You see what I'm saying? They can't figure it out because they don't understand fundamentally what they're dealing with. And this is what they're dealing with. Male, female, and growth. Zeta. Okay? Zeta is 6 and 7. I'm just throw this out here. We're carbon base, nitrogen base. Okay? That's 6 and 7. Oops. That's 6 and 7. Then you have the 6th and 7th day. Okay? Y and X together, omega, means growth. Okay? Hence the term for resistance. We use omega. Omega. Space, the ohm, which actually ties in with sound frequencies, which, believe it or not, space, though it's a void, is very loud. Now I'm just going to throw out some evolution, okay? Instead of the planet being the Luca, this is how, well, it's all over my channel anyway, but I'm just going to throw some stuff out here. Okay, sperm whale means seed cetacean, okay? Moby Dick, sperm, seed, dick. I mean, I think that kind of explains, I mean, that's just a little too ironic anyway. All right, so Odontoceti has a 4-chambered heart. It's tooth ivory, okay? These guys have ivory. Odobenocetops, okay, the walrus-faced whale. Then you have a manatee, okay? These guys are related to the elephant. All of the guys in this area are bald until you get to the even and odd-toed eaglets. Now, the only way that science is really going to understand how we evolved is to reduce the family and the family and the family. Okay, see, instead of focusing, okay, there's a lot of cetaceans. There's a lot of artiodactyl, okay? There's a lot of marsupials. There's a lot of apes. Well, technically not a lot, but there are more than just one, okay? They focus on each and every one in these families, okay? They're like, oh, well, the chimpanzee here, the chimpanzee there, the orangutan here, the orangutan there. Look, just go with the ape themselves, okay? What are they closely related to? Well, we happen to know that gorillas and orangutans and humans are all related to kangaroo very closely. So we at least know that ape came after the marsupial. And ironically, everything else is on 4 legs. But there are 2-legged marsupials, which is the kangaroo. And its hips look almost exactly like the ape, okay? But this is where we start to stand up, okay? And in here, we're related to artiodactyls because they are bovine, a type of bovine. And their hooves are going to eventually become fingernails and toenails, okay? So we did not have claws, or our fingernails used to be claws. Our fingernails used to be hooves, and I will believe this till the day I die, and eventually some scientist, some noteworthy guy, since I'm apparently not noteworthy or worthy or not a white man with a tie, I'm just saying, gotta have them glasses and a suit and tie and have all that money. But they're going to find it out. They'll figure this out. They'll submit the idea, and everybody's going to be like, oh my God, this man's a genius, you know. But I'm just saying, if they would just go by the families, they'll figure this stuff out a lot easier. And if they quit looking at it with numbers, giving the world no meaning, they would understand that the world has meaning, and everything on it has meaning and connection. And the theory of everything is right under their noses. But the only way they're going to be able to get the theory of everything is leave the numbers out of it, because it's not the theory of numbers. Okay? Just saying. I'm just saying. This is already almost 30 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off there.